So Ryanair is one of the largest low-cost carriers in Europe, and the 787 has proven itself to be a very successful aircraft, delivering great range, economics, and various opportunities. So would the possibility of combining both of them seem pretty far-fetched? Well, it's not entirely impossible, and it may be on the horizon in the near future. There have been times when the CEO of Ryanair, Michael O'Leary, has hinted at the possibility that the airline could further expand into Europe and also tap into the US market. Now before we go any further, I don't know about you, but I would love to see a face-off between Southwest Airlines and Ryanair, considering that they're two giants of the low-cost industry. But seriously, they're aiming at entering into the US market. Maybe not very soon like next year, but perhaps in 5 to 7 years time. So currently Ryanair are operating 443 of the 737-800s, and they also have another 135 737 MAX 200 planes on order. Although these planes are able to cross the pond, you're asking too much from the plane. So what will they use for their long-haul transatlantic flights? Well, with the fares being planned to be around £20, they're going to need something dirt cheap and buy in bulk. Now when a flight exceeds more than 3,000 miles, then the airline is going to need more seats to compete on a per flight basis. If they plan to serve more than 10 cities in the US, then they're going to need around 15 wide-body planes, and they will most likely be Boeing planes, considering that they have a love relationship with the manufacturer. Although they already have the Maxes on order and also the next generation 737s, neither of these planes produce high-yielding passengers to make their economics work for low-cost long-haul travel. The MAX 200 just doesn't have the range capability. So the obvious answer for this would be the Boeing 787, but we have one problem. Boeing is facing a huge demand for the 787 Dreamliner, not so much for the Dash 8 model, but there's still a waiting period of around 5 years if you order now, and the plane has proven itself to be great for low-cost long-haul travel. For example, Scoot can seat around 375 passengers in the Dash 9, Jetstar can manage 335 in the Dash 8, and ANA can manage 395 seats for domestic in the Dash 9. Taking into consideration the success that other carriers have gained from the 787 and the types of route that they operate, the 787 would be a great choice for Ryanair. So in terms of which model of the 787 they would go for, well, there are only two options. The Dash 10 would give them huge capacity and economics, but I don't think they'll order it because it offers a cargo capacity that Ryanair hasn't chosen yet to add to their business model. Loading and offloading cargo entails huge amount of cost and takes time, and considering they're all about reducing cost, I don't think they would pay too much for an aircraft. Now a combination of the Dash 8 and the Dash 9 would be more ideal. It would give them enough range without sacrificing payload capacity and a seating configuration of around 350 plus passengers. Now they could also fluctuate the variant of the plane depending on the demand of a particular route. They could also choose the 777-300ER and seat around 500 plus passengers. But the problem that they would face is that there will only be a handful of routes which would justify the demand for 500 plus passengers. If they don't fill the plane to the brim, then the airline is just flying empty metal whilst throwing money in the air. Now if they did order Boeing, I think the 787 would be more suited to their needs. It's the only Boeing family that would offer the airline the flexibility of capacity and also keep the cost low. So would the possibility of Ryanair operating the 787 really happen? Well, the airline is all about being saturated as possible, meaning flying to as many places as possible whilst making a profit. They can do this with the 737 because it's small enough and every airport is guaranteed to handle the plane. The Dreamliner, however, is far bigger and it would be restricted to airports that can handle the plane. But we know that the industry is always changing and revolving, with airlines moving towards larger and more efficient budget planes. Take Norwegian for example. Now if Ryanair does welcome the 787, then one thing is for sure, it will be far worse than the 19-hour Singapore flight.